Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining us today. I will start a video just to set the kind of the groundwork for our discussion. So if I am hoping that it will show okay, and then I'll come back on as soon as it's done.
My first experience of going abroad while studying really helped me figure out who I was and what my place was in the world. And I've kind of been obsessed with the personal growth that comes with traveling. So that's kind of what keeps me going. Taking that chance has given me confidence to feel that I can do really anything. And if I want to do another career switch, bring it on. I got this. It was a really good job. I really enjoyed what I was doing. My team was great from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint of what I was able to achieve. And again, I went for like a switch of careers. So I kind of came in there very new, very fresh. Without IEC, I wouldn't have the work visa that's allowing me to go to the UK for 2 years without an employer. Like that is the biggest thing. So it wouldn't have even happened without IEC. So IEC really gave me the opportunity of a lifetime. It's super normal to be nervous. I was nervous until the day that I left. And so let's just get that out of the way. It's going to be nerve-wracking the whole way through, but you should do it. Like I'm telling you, it's scary, but the benefits that you get are just, there's no words for what you get, for what you gain. So do it.
Amazing. I love that video. So thanks for our friends at IEC for putting that together. I'm just going to get us back to the PowerPoint here, and I'm hoping that it is showing okay. Sorry. So the first person that I want to introduce is Melanie Gratton, who is with International Experiences Canada, and also her colleague Liz Hong Farrell, who many of you know from previous webinars that we put together, are our host today, and I appreciate International Experience Canada's sponsorship of this series. So I'm going to throw it over to Melanie to tell us a little bit about the program and give us an update. And then I also want to hear from Melanie about her international experiences as well. So without further ado, I'm going to send it over to Melanie.
Bonjour tout le monde, I hope that you can hear me well. J'aimerais prendre un moment pour reconnaître que mon lieu de travail est situé sur le territoire ancestral et traditionnel et non cédé de la nation algonquine. So I acknowledge that my place of work, but also where I'm tuning in from today is from the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation. I love how Tatiana puts it in that video there. It is International Experience Canada is a beautiful opportunity. So it's a program of the Government of Canada, and we've negotiated with over 30 partner countries and territories to make it easier for young Canadians between the ages of 18 to 35 to obtain a work permit so that they can work and travel abroad for up to 2 years. Now it is a reciprocal program, which means that youth from those partner countries can do the same here in Canada. And there are different types of streams that are available. One of the most popular and most well-known would be the working holiday. So as Tatiana was mentioning, the fact that you can go work and travel without needing an employer to endorse or sponsor you to be able to go work and travel abroad. So you would be able to have an open work permit where you might have varying opportunities on what type of work you can do. But there's also work-specific permits, which kind of comes into play when it comes to work integrated learning. So taking what you've learned at school and applying it to a co-op or an internship, or if you're just continuing your career path and looking to work in the same company but abroad or something of the sort, there are a lot of opportunities out there that exist, and International Experience Canada is a great opportunity in order to do so. When it comes to being able to do my own international experiences, I am currently still a leisure traveler. I'm hoping to be able to go on an IEC visa, and I'm definitely trying to line that up But the biggest question, and Tatiana also touched on this, is how do you choose where? How do you pick where to go when there's so many beautiful places in this world that you can be going to? So if anyone has any recommendations in the chat, please let me know where you might be interested in going, and maybe that'll help me fuel where my next destination will be. Alors, si vous avez des questions pour moi, s'il vous plaît, n'hésitez pas, que ce soit en français ou en anglais. I'm more than happy to talk more about the program. I'll throw it back over to you, Matt.
All right, merci, Melanie. That was great. And I wish you the best of luck wherever you go next. I know you've been to some fantastic places in the last few months. So you're kind of living the dream. You're getting paid to have all these different experiences, and I hope you're enjoying every minute of it. So we have a fantastic panel today. We have Marie-Christine Picard, who is an IEC ambassador. So she's going to tell us a little bit about her experiences and also what she does for work and for life. We also have Ed Holroyd Pierce, who is the president of Virtual Internships. I got this wrong the other day, and he's not the CEO, he's the president. And Ed and I go back a number of years. And then we also have Joanna Kirk, who is with Kirk Leadership, and Joanna and I have known each other for a number of years. And so the first person I'm going to call on to tell us a little bit about themselves is Joanna. And so Joanna, if you could tell us what you do for work, a little bit about yourself, your international experiences, and also what brings you joy, which I love asking that question.
Thanks so much, Matt. It's such an honor to be on this panel with such amazing, incredible people who I'm learning more about, and to connect with all of you who are potentially interested in an international experience, and to IEC for making this possible. It's absolutely incredible. So when I was invited to do this, I said, heck yes, it's probably my greatest area of passion. And I did a lot of it starting at a young age, and I have no regrets. It has opened all the doors for me personally. I too, like Melanie, would like to also share my gratitude for where I'm seated today. It's the territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Ojibwe, and many other Indigenous nations who have cared for the land for over 15,000 years. So I'm super grateful. Yeah, I have started, I suppose, my love for language, culture, and the globe since elementary school, when I had the option, and a lot of influence from my family, to take French immersion. So I started local, but started learning, another language where I could. I know there are a lot of different ways to access different languages today. And that was a great one for me. So that just really created an appreciation of language. And from that, I would say, was born this desire to get out to Quebec, and then to further that and to get out and to see the globe. And so eventually, I'll talk about my travel experiences in a little bit, but right now, what do I do for my career? I've been lucky enough to start up my own company. It's called Kirk Leadership, and I get to focus on training leaders, creating developmental experiences to help leaders be more kind, to be more inclusive and more creative, and to think more globally. None of that would have been possible without my international experiences. So the things, some of the subjects that I teach are in the space of DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as belonging. Also in the space of emotional intelligence, really empathizing. And you can only do that with an understanding of differences and perspective, creative thinking and leading change, and so on. So check us out if you like. And I would say that truly it's been possible because of all of the travel and the work and the volunteerism and the study that I did before, that brought me to this space of confidence to go out there and become an entrepreneur and lead my own business with that worldview in mind. And all my clients are global, as well as I've chosen to go virtual to make it equitable and accessible to all. And I just say that my greatest joy is right now my rescue puppy, getting married in September, planning out the honeymoon. And I see Matt's back online, but if there's time later, I'll share with you my 3 top travel experiences.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joanna. Thank you for sharing your experiences thus far. I'm going to throw it over to Marie-Christine, who is on mute right now. And Marie Christine, I would love to hear from you on the same questions.
Thanks, Matt. I was about to do the classic Zoom mistake of speaking just lonely in my office. So hi, everyone. So as Matt was just saying, I'm a youth ambassador. So I'm lucky enough to have a job now that allows me to talk about my travel experiences, which is awesome. As you can hear with my accent, I'm from Quebec, Canada. So my main language is Français. So I have to switch my brain really quickly to speak with you. So I'm also an environmental consultant. So I made my studies in that. So right when I finished my studies, I decided to go travel abroad, but I started traveling, like really travel, when I was around 20 years old. I left for 3 weeks for Costa Rica. And then so on, I was just traveling, like saving every bit of money I could. Every time I was going to the groceries, I was just like, okay, I can save $15 there. So I was just like, my passion was really, really to travel. And so when I finished my environmental degree, I just left to New Zealand and Australia by myself. So I was just like Tatiana in the video. I was super scared to leave my parents as well. It was not funny for them, but it was really one of the greatest experiences I've lived in my life. And that's where I've learned kite surfing, and it's some of the things that bring me the most joy right now is just kite surfing or snow kiting during winter time. And now we were speaking just before that I'm a mom of twins, and I can bring them on my board or just pull them on the ice in the winter. So that's what brings me a lot of joy, is to just share my passion now. I bring my kids into my travel experiences, and I bring them kite surfing as well.
Wonderful. Well, from one parent of twins, I'm going to go to another parent of twins. And I'm going to call upon Ed to share some of his formative experiences and his passions, and I know, Ed, you have. I'm sure we could do a 2-hour session on just your experiences, but I'm gonna cut you short and just have you introduce yourself for now.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me here, Matt. And just as Joanna said, you know, the chance to just jump on and talk about one's passion for travel, and hope that passion can be transferred to new people in the audience is a real luxury and an honor. So thank you for inviting me. Currently I am co-founder and president of Virtual Internships. The predecessor to Virtual Internships was a company called CRCC Asia, still operating, which takes students out to Asia for short-term work experience programs. And that's sort of, you know, work-wise, what I've really been focused on. It's bringing a new work culture in front of young people and letting them experience that with varying degrees of accessibility and bringing down the barriers, particularly with the virtual side. We've managed to bring down a whole lot more than taking groups of 100 or 200 interns to Shanghai and sorting out the visas and the costs and the service departments. But that's been sort of the last decade or so of my life, and indeed, Matt, that's, you know, how we know each other. That's not where it started, though. You know, I did share briefly with Matt my own personal travel journey. My father died when I was quite young, age 6, and my mum was a single mom, but thankfully she didn't let that stop her pushing me to be independent, to be very travel minded. So age 7, she actually sent me on my own for a 3-week holiday with a Greek family who she'd met once before and only communicated with by letter. I mean, this is way pre-internet. So I went off on my own as a 7-year-old to Greece and stayed with a family. I didn't really think anything of it, but it was when I got back, I was flying unaccompanied minor, and I got back to Heathrow Airport, and this very kind lady said, "Well, who's picking you up?" And I said, "No, I'm getting on the airport bus to Oxford." And she looked at me and was like, "What?" Called my mom, checked that this was all fine, and I guess this kind of stuff was allowed back in like 1989, 1990. So I did it. And, that's when I kind of really became independent, I guess, in terms of travel, and have not really looked back since, I guess. But there's plenty more little anecdotes that I'll share later, but that's just to set the scene, I guess, Matt. And yeah, it turns out that I and Mary Christine do indeed have like a lot in common with boy-girl twins who are 7 years old. I mean, it was a did I have to pass that test to get on this panel, Matt? But in terms of what brings me joy at the moment, it is really seeing the twins change and grow up every day. I'm like, my daughter's favorite food is tonkotsu ramen, and my son's favorite food is dim sum. And those little things bring me a lot of joy, that they are becoming kind of interesting global citizens. So
Fantastic.
I'll leave it there.
Fantastic. Well, Ed, let's sort of pick up on a couple of things. So first of all, I just want to go back to the video where Tatiana was talking about, she was afraid. And we've all experienced that, trying to get out of your comfort zone. You're going to a different country or a different culture, even within the same country. And so that is natural. Ed, it sounds like you were, your mother sort of forced you into that role. So I don't know how much fear there was or something that you really didn't anticipate what was going to happen. But so tell me a little bit more about, your trip to Greece, and then you went to China, I believe, as a young person as well. And clearly it's been a transformative experience for you, not just at the time, but really for the rest of your life, including your professional life. So maybe you can just pick up on that a little bit. Did you have fear? If you did,
Yeah,
how did you overcome it?
absolutely, Matt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think I still do. You still get nervous when you go somewhere new and you're not sure what situation you're going to be in. And it's actually, I mean, now I take that as a refreshing situation, a reminder that you can't just conquer everything. You're not always going to be super confident. Turning up somewhere and thinking, what if my hostel or my Airbnb gets cancelled at the last minute? Like, what am I going to do? Just internalizing, not internalizing, but actually thinking through the process of, hey, what would I do in this situation? Or how can I just plan to make sure that if something goes wrong, then I have a plan B and a plan C. So little things just like making sure that you do have a backup credit card, and maybe even a little bit of cash these days. I know it's probably unthinkable, but having a couple of different options, because if the ATM doesn't work in the airport when you arrive, you need a plan B, right? And probably a plan C as well. But those are the things that those first travel experiences do give you, and I think you just need to embrace it. You need to think, okay, this went wrong. What did I learn? I'm still here, I'm still around, and I'm going to take away the best bits that I can and learning experience. But yeah, to your point about China, that was really where my travel interest went next. I was just lucky enough to be very interested in different languages. I started off with an after-school Japanese class that one of the teachers was putting on for free. And then a friend's dad saw my Teach Yourself Japanese book and said, why are you learning Japanese? You should be learning Chinese. That's going to be the language of the future. And I was like a very influenceable 13-year-old and just did what he said straight away. I went and picked up a Chinese book and started, learning it. And then my mom, again, gets a mention, had no understanding or knowledge of Chinese or what she could do. She took me to the local Chinese restaurant and dropped me off for a few hours for several afternoons in a, she was like, just resourceful lady, was just like, how could I possibly do this? And, as a result, I picked up a bit of dialect. I picked up a bit of, restaurant culture, food interest. So I suppose where I'm going with this is that you don't always need to have all the resources, all the money, all the flight tickets. you can start to think internationally and to start to facilitate some of those experiences around yourself. And particularly now we're all online and we've got access to computers and YouTube and Netflix, you can actually get an amazing amount of international content and start to dip your toe in the water. And that's, you know, what I would recommend. Don't just say, oh, because I can't get out and spend 6 months in Japan this year, I'm going to put all of my interest into a box and hide it under my bed. Go on Netflix and watch some Japanese TV series. You know, try doing a bit of Japanese cookery, and then, you know, saving money, finding opportunities like this to get funding to then go out there when it's time, when it happens. Yeah.
Fantastic advice, and thank you for sharing that with us. I just wanted to remind people to use the Q&A function if you want to ask any questions of our panelists at the end, or if you want to make any comments, then that's fine as well. You can also use the webinar chat if you want to introduce yourself and make any comments that way as well. Next, I'm going to throw it over to Joanna. So Joanna, I know that you've had various experiences, one in Japan and one in Spain, as well as you were kind of navigating early adulthood in both for education and for international experiences. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about that, those experiences, and how they've been transformative.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm still marveling at Ed's story. 7 years old in Greece and then to China, and wow, incredible human, I'm sure, that contributed to making of you and your mom's influence and going through that hard time. I want to honor that. And I think that no matter what's going on in our lives, it's never like this ideal time where I'm not nervous, I'm not scared, I've got all the resources, I've got all the plans. Just like Ed said, it's never going to be like the perfect situation. You might feel really nervous, you might feel scared, you might feel excited, but you might have started a new relationship or whatever the situation might be. There's no perfect scenario for this, but you will never regret it. Yeah, and I think you're hearing from a number of people today who are just so excited. It's made us who we are today and our success. So yes, thank you for your generous question there, Matt. So yeah, I would say that Japan, I know that Ed loves ramen, so this might resonate. That's about all I knew of Japan when I went there. I didn't speak the language, nothing. I was going in like pretty ignorant to the situation. I just knew, you know, Japan is a country and Tokyo is there and some really cool innovation, and I'm going to learn a lot, but I was scared. I was leaving a relationship. I didn't have a lot of money, etc. But I said yes. And right away, like lots of things are coming at you, right? Lots of newness. I couldn't read the street signs. It was the time before the internet. Oh my gosh, I just aged myself, but there it is. So I didn't have a lot of resources, yeah, I really didn't. But what it taught me was you can figure it out, because I had to figure a lot of things out while I was there, like how to figure out where the grocery store is, what to buy, how to economize and live off of the small sum of money that I had, how to make friendships across language barriers, being culturally aware and understanding and learning as much as I could. And I got to teach English while I was there, and I made so many friends and learned so much about the country, and I got to travel from there as well. So I ended up volunteering in the Philippines while I was there. That was amazing. But while I was in Japan, I also got to teach at a school for children with disabilities. And it was the most powerful experience in the world. I definitely took away so much more than I gave, but I tried to give as much as I could. But it's also okay to be a sponge. It's also okay to just really learn from the experience and to grow from it. And then I would say that unlocked everything else for me. Just being able to realize, you know what? I have ants on my floor. There was a cockroach, or I got a twisted leg at one point. You figure it out. You just do. If I can, you can. And I just grew so much from it. So then I started to take on all kinds of other international opportunities, like going to Spain for part of my MBA program, when I heard that there was an opportunity to do that, I'm like, heck yes. Do I know much about Spain? Do I speak fluent Spanish? No, but I'm going to figure it out. And so I think that's what I'll leave you with. I've probably traveled now to 50 countries, but whether it's studying, volunteering, working abroad, or traveling for the love of the globe, it's always a good reason, and it's just going to impact who you are as a human being and your confidence.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that, Joanna. And I'm going to go over to Marie-Christine, who before we started today, we were talking about she lives in Lac Mégantic in Quebec. So Marie-Christine, I don't know at what age you became bilingual, but I would imagine that was probably part of your international experience as well, is navigating different languages other than French. You might be navigating Spanish or English, or if you were in Brazil or Portugal, Portuguese, or whatever the case may be. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about that from your perspective, what it was like to go abroad, leave the province of Quebec, and you know, just tell us what it was like for you. Sorry. And you're on mute as well. Sorry.
La la la. Okay, sorry. So actually, what I was saying is that I was really jealous of the English speaking people, because I was just like, it's so easy for them. They just speak the language they speak every day. But afterwards, I just realized that it was really good for me to just be like a French speaker and then learning another language, just to have some privacy when I wanted to do some phone calls. Nobody could understand what I was talking about when I was in Australia. But yeah, for me, it's really weird. But the first time I traveled, I went to Costa Rica, and I was just I was speaking like a basic English, just, yes, can I have a cup of coffee? Where is the restaurant? It was really, really basic. And then the second trip I made was in France, and it's in France that I learned my English, because it was my first trip by myself, but I was with an organization in Montreal called Chantier Jeunesse, and the organized group of people from everywhere in the world, and they just gather at the same place to do chantier that they call. So we do a project together, and we're really forced to speak in English so everybody can understand. So we were maybe 2 or 3 people speaking French in my group, but the other people were from Germany, Spain, Czech Republic, Japan, from Greece, from everywhere. I was the only one from America, actually. So that's where I came back, and I was just fluent in English, but from a trip to France. So it was really weird. But really, when I left to go to New Zealand, at first I could stop in Fiji Islands, and I stopped for a week, and it was just full of people from England. Sorry, Ed, but I think you're English, but I could not understand anything. I was just like, oh, if I lose 5 seconds of a conversation, I'm just completely lost. So it was like being surrounded by a bunch of Japanese people talking together. I was just like, oh my God, I cannot catch up. But at the end of my trip, after a year, I was hanging out with people from England, and it was perfect. I could just follow their conversation, and I was I was dreaming in English, and I was thinking in English, and it was easier for me to speak English. I was just like, oh my God, French is so slow. There's so many words just for one thing. And so yeah, it really helped me afterwards as well with my jobs. And I had to work with the First Nations as well in Quebec. So I had to meet people that were really English speaking people. So it really helped me with my job afterwards. So for me, it's super rich to just being able to speak 2 languages.
Well, both your languages are amazing. A little insight into my day. I actually posted a video on LinkedIn, which some of you may have seen, and I haven't spoken French in a number of years. I was in French immersion as a child until 13, and it forced me to get out of my comfort zone this morning just to have that little bit of French.
Yeah.
But it's good. It it is really good just to get out of your comfort zone and test yourself a little bit and realize, you know, you can make mistakes, but that's okay.
Yes.
I do want to move on. So we've talked about a lot of the benefits of having international experiences, and unfortunately, it's not all rosy for everyone. We have various or varying degrees in which we can approach having an international experience, whether it be economic or from a minority demographic perspective. But I want to send it over to Melanie to talk about some of the challenges that you see as one of the administrators of the IEC program, and maybe some of the solutions that both the government of Canada and some of your partners have come up with in the last little bit. So over to you, Melanie.
Merci beaucoup. So even just starting off with some of the things that were mentioned already in the panel, what youth have come to us saying that they find as a barrier is that language aspect, and, you know, how do I do it? But as you've seen in the panel so far, you kind of just figure it out. If you have that inkling and that desire, there are obviously a bunch of different languages that are spoken in the various countries. And so English being obviously one of the most prominent ones, mentioning it because we're having this conversation in English right now, but there are of course some French speaking countries and or other. And so you can go into the language that suits you. But if you're looking for that challenge, as you can see from our beautiful panel, that they were able to figure it out, they're able to do it. So definitely one of the barriers that has been mentioned, but one of the more important ones that that seem a little intangible sometimes is the costing. It's expensive to go abroad, and you know, we definitely negotiate to try and make it more accessible for youth, but it's still not free. There are always costs in life as it is, but one of the government initiatives that is like when it comes to sources of funding, there is the international education strategy. So the federal government launched the International Education Strategy. I keep wanting to call it IES, but I realize acronyms are not everyone's friend. And then there's also the Global Skills Initiative that helps and encourages to support undergraduate students to take on the international work integrated learning or study placements. And then there's this initiative is managed by Economic and Social Development Canada, who also funds Colleges and Institutes Canada and Universities Canada to deliver it. But when it comes to IEC specifically, it is a self-directed program, which means that it is up to the youth to find their own sources of funding. However, being a work and travel program, one beautiful aspect of it is that when you're traveling abroad for especially an extended period of time, you're saying, well, goodness, my funds are dwindling quick, but they start realizing, oh, I can actually get a job legally, because you do need a work permit in order to work legally in a different country, but you're able to do that to help fund those travels. So you've heard from Tatiana earlier. We also had someone else from, her name is Leticia, and she was also a youth ambassador, and both of them mentioned how they were in Europe. So of course, countries are quite close. And they said, you know, the second I was able to land that job, the second I explained that I had a legal visa to be able to work in that country, suddenly I was spending weekends in all these other countries, and I realized it was a lot more accessible than I thought. And so it's more just to bring it back to the, you know, you see that number and you say, oh goodness, that's a big number. But when you actually kind of do a little bit of that savings and you realize that you can get that job to help fund those little aspects here and there, it really does make it significantly more tangible than people realize, I believe. And I feel like this panel is a great demonstration to exactly that.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that, Melanie. I'm going to throw it over to you, Marie-Christine. I know you've touched on kind of the language aspect. Just anecdotally, from what you hear from others who are interested in doing international experiences, or you know, maybe some of your friends' children, or whatever the case may be. What are you hearing as some of the impediments as people approach going abroad?
I think some people are afraid to go abroad, maybe because they're maybe scared to go by themselves, or they just don't know where to start. Like For some people, it's just to like, how do I book my plane ticket, or how like do I need insurance, and how am I going to find a job? And part of my job as a youth ambassador at International Experience Canada is to really encourage people to go out there and travel. And like, first, like I'm always saying, yeah, I bought a car and I was living in my car, and I'm just talking about my experience like it was super easy, but it was not that easy like at first. But once you start living it, you're just like, it's part of your life. So it's just to just dive into your experience. And like Ed was saying, it's so easy right now with internet. Like you can find blogs, you can find groups on Facebook, you can find like like I heard that there's like a French Canadian group of like a Quebecois in Australia that is super active. So you can just find that group and ask questions. And so I think what might stop people from traveling is to just not knowing where to start. And that's what I'm trying to help them with when I do conferences.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So Ed, I'm going to ask you as the president of actually two kind of international education providing organizations. What are you seeing as some of the impediments? I know that a lot has changed. Specifically, in your case, virtual internships have sort of opened the door for many young people and students that were hoping to go abroad and couldn't for various reasons. And then on top of that, maybe you can just share some of what you are hearing and are experiencing with the people that you deal with.
Yeah, very happy to share a few things, Matt. I think we just need to recognize, first of all, that everybody is an individual and no one person's barriers are going to be identical to another's. There will be some common threads, of course, but I personally, over the last few years, have seen every kind of barrier and every kind of impediment to going abroad. And my overall recommendation would be just to take them, bit by bit, separate them out, don't ignore them or brush them under the carpet, but try and put a name to them, and then do a bit of research, do some reading, talk to as many people as you can. There are helpful people within universities, within organizations like we have today with us. And, it could be first generation traveler abroad. Parents may literally be saying, do not do that. I do not want you to go abroad. It's scary. It's worrisome. Why would you want to do that? Interestingly, I've had sort of both ends from first generation Brits. Some of them come from extremely adventurous families, who made the journey from maybe India to East Africa to the UK. And the first thing they're happy to do is to send their next generation abroad to China. But there are also people who are exactly the opposite. They have spent a lot of their lives trying to get secure and safe in the UK. And the last thing they want to do is send their children overseas. So just being willing to kind of approach that question and say, are my parents going to be supportive, or are my teachers going to be interested in this choice? Can I have this conversation? And if so, how do I reassure them that I've thought this through a little bit? There will be exciting moments. There will be, sleeping in a car, sleeping in a hostel, etc. But I can find some tools to reassure them. And then, the funding thing, I think, just to be prepared and look into jobs and whether visas will allow for that is really sensible and smart. I think, there is an increasing range of different programs, and something like our virtual internship would allow people to put their toe in the water of a new culture, to make some connections, start to network, and then just feel a little bit more confident in maybe doing travel the next summer. And that's really exciting for me, because it's not it's not just like throw yourself in there from day one. You have to go for it. You could make some connections, make some friends, understand about it a bit more, read some blogs, watch some Netflix shows, and decide if you want to do that. So I think that's exciting. I would say just, building up that little bit. And it doesn't, language just to go back to that, doesn't have to be a scary barrier. I think non-language students may sometimes feel like, wait, why do I want to go abroad? I don't want to learn French. I don't want to do this, but I would really love to see it as a tourist. I would say right now there's so many tools that could just like remove that barrier. I would still encourage everybody to learn languages, but if they don't want to, it shouldn't be a reason for not going traveling and not doing an overseas experience. I think, being sensible, if there are, let's say, physical disabilities involved, again, be sensible about it. There are places in the world where sidewalks or pavements, however you refer to them, are not suitable for a wheelchair. And actually just saying, like, that is a question I need to ask, is mature and is sensible. So just being able to approach those conversations and not expect everything to be fine or perfect is probably a piece of advice I'd give people as well. Just go into it with your eyes open.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing that. I should have mentioned it earlier. This session is being recorded and will be posted up on to our YouTube channel. And I will also share it with all the panelists. So if there was a number of people who registered today and for various reasons couldn't attend. So I will send that out, that link to everyone who registered, and everyone that is online right now, you will also get the link. So feel free to share that with your network as well. So I'm going to send it over to Joanna. And so Joanna, part of what you do on a daily basis is you talk to leaders, right? And so how, and I'm throwing this at you, and I haven't really prepared you for it, but so hearing some of the impediments, some of the challenges that people may face going abroad, whether it is an emotional one, an economic one, other challenges for various reasons. If you were to give advice to those people in a leadership kind of way, what would that look like? What would you be saying? I know it's a scary, challenging world out there, and there's lots going on politically. There are, various challenges around the world. How would you approach it if you were giving the advice to kind of the leaders of tomorrow, if you will?
Oh my gosh, that's a rich question. I will get there, I'm guessing, as I speak externally. I did have the pleasure of sitting on a panel in Africa, in Kenya, to a group of leaders who were trying to incentivize youth to volunteer. Okay. And of course, each one of our economic, financial accessibility is different. Like I mentioned, when I started on my international journey, I was penniless, probably in debt, definitely in debt. Let me just own that. Lots of student debt and whatnot. And yeah, I mean, the way I managed to do that was getting a paid job to teach English abroad. And that was a life-saving opportunity for me, where there weren't a lot of jobs coming out of school. So to be able to find something like that, first of all, is a blessing. Secondly, if you're more in the position right now of looking into volunteerism, but look, the reality is my family needs money, my family needs food on the table, etc. That's trickier, right? It's definitely trickier if you were thinking about volunteering. But what I've been told before, and what I'd like to share with you, is that when you see the true value of the volunteerism, of what that's going to bring to your exposure, awareness, confidence, skill building, networking opportunity, the money will come. And so I would encourage people to invest in yourself. Maybe it doesn't have to be a 2-year stint. Maybe it can be a shorter experience where you get that international exposure. And so much is going to come to you as a result of that. And as you build your network, the money will come. So I highly encourage, everyone on this call and beyond, and the leaders of today and the future, to create space for people of any socioeconomic status, all the layers of culture and intersectionality, to create space for these opportunities to happen, because it's the best thing, as you're hearing, that's ever happened to us in our lives. And it will change you forever for the good. And it's, once again, never an ideal time. It's never you're going to have everything in place to do it. So you have to trust and learn from these discussions and whatnot, how it has impacted people's lives. And just know, as I think Ed was saying, that everyone is different, and how it's going to impact you will be your own unique story. But take that time to invest in yourself. And I would encourage the leaders to also speak to this and create that space to encourage people to do this. And that's why it's such a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. I knew you would hit that curveball out of the park, going off script a little bit. So thank you very much, Joanna. I'm going to just sort of turn to everyone on the panel now and just ask one question, quick answer. What's your best advice to get you started on exploring an international experience? And Melanie, I don't think I set you up for this, but I'm going to go to you first. And you could, the easiest answer could be just to check out your website, or if from a personal standpoint, if you want to tell us a little bit about how you would approach it. So over to you.
Love it. Thank you. I will add it in the chat. The website is canada.ca/IEC. Again, I will put it in the chat there. So thank you for that reminder. That's great. The other thing is, as you've heard kind of throughout the panel, be comfortable with this discomfort. You know, it's in some of that discomfort comes the most beautiful things. There's a lot of wonderful opportunities out there. So once you find something that kind of tickles your fancy, that really passions you, look at how you can do that in a larger context. You know, you have, if we're talking about internships, for example, there are colleges and institutes that are there to help with those kinds of the bridging of that, those opportunities. So if you're trying to find employment, there's always the international sectors that are great to go. If you're going through your institutions, there's a lot of beautiful organizations, such as some of the ones that we've talked about on the panel, that you can touch on there. I feel like you wanted to say something. No? Okay, sorry. And so if it's wherever there's a barrier, there's always a solution. So it's just finding the one that kind of fits you, and to not let those prevent you, because as Matt mentioned earlier, I've had the opportunity to travel quite a bit, unfortunately still in the leisure or work realm, not yet as a international experience for an extended period of time, but it has opened my eyes to see that there's a lot more out there than I ever expected that is for me, that I didn't realize that it was something that I really wanted until I was there. Just don't let that fear prevent you, because you can find it anywhere. You can find fear anywhere, and you can find joy anywhere. So just go for it.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Marie-Christine, let's get in a 10-year time machine. Your kids, your twins are now 18. They're both itching to go somewhere. What's your quick advice? What's the first thing you're going to tell them to do?
Oh my God. I'm going to tell them to go abroad and live an experience. Yes, definitely. Like in between college or just after you graduate from high school, I would say just get out and know about yourself. So it's just, I wish I would have done that in between my studies, like more of a big experience, just to get to know myself and get to know like in which program I should go in college or university. So I would definitely tell them to go. And Mel, if I can help you choosing a destination, or whoever in the panel, it's just like, I just told before that for me, my passion is kite surfing. And from now on, like for the last couple of years, I've chosen my destination with the kite surfing destinations, because I know when I travel, I want to kite surf. And so I'm going to Hawaii this summer, and I know I can kite surf there, and it's going to be awesome. So I choose like from my passion. So if you like cultural stuff or paintings, or I don't know, rock climbing or whatever is the thing that you love, just like look for like the 10 best place in the world for rock climbing, and then you're gonna find a lot of really great ideas for the first place you should go. So Mel, if you want to go rock climbing in Utah, I don't know.
Fantastic. Well, I saw Ed nodding his head a little bit. So Ed, I'm going to put your kids in that same 10-year time machine. What would be your quick advice to them?
So, I mean, hopefully I'll have done this for the interim, 10 years, so on. But I think really encouraging them and everybody to nurture their own curiosity and their passion, and allow yourself those exploratory experiences. Just go with what you're interested in, ask questions, talk to people, don't be afraid of sitting down and people watching for a while. And the opportunity to do that when being abroad is incredible. And so if I don't know how to tie it all together into a really succinct sentence, but hopefully they'll be friends with Mary Christine's twins, and they'll all go off on some amazing cross-country road trip or something like that. But I will always encourage them and other people who I get to speak to just nurture their curiosity. Don't ignore it. Just allow it to bring you opportunities.
Right. Wonderful. So Joanna, just to sum up here, you are a leadership coach. What would be your best coaching suggestion to anyone that's interested in an international experience right now?
I refer a lot to somebody named Brene Brown. She's just amazing in the space of vulnerability. And one thing I learned from her, that all the emotions are present. They're all at your ongoing barbecue, inclusive of excitement, joy, contentment, nervousness, and fear. Fear is going to be present as well. It's one of your buddies who's at the table. And what I would say is, be careful who you feed at the barbecue. The fear will be there to remind you really that you're stepping up and into something bigger. You're leaving your comfort zone for growth, for excitement, for self-development, and it's going to be incredible. Don't let it stop you. Let the fear just let you know, wow, you are stepping up into really cool things. So invite it to the barbecue, don't feed it too much, and just do it. Just do it. Take the opportunity.
Fantastic. Judging by Melanie's reaction, it sounds like she has been at that same barbecue with Brene Brown. So I'm going to have to do some research into Brene Brown, because I sadly don't know who that is. So, but thank you, Joanna, for opening my eyes. So Malcolm, I saw one question that came up earlier. I don't know if it's been answered to or not. Do you want to just follow up on that?
Yes, Matt, it was answered. It was about the recording, and you addressed it in the call. Thank you.
Fantastic. And I see quite a few familiar names on the chat. So Mike True, if Mike True is still on, he's a very good friend of mine and of Ed's as well. Mike is in Pennsylvania. And he is like a closeted Canadian. He likes, his daughter likes curling, and he watches, I forget the name of the CBC show, but it is a period drama. So Mike, thank you for joining us today as well. I don't know if there's any other questions out there. Oh, Murdoch Mysteries. I knew Mike would fill me in there. So I'm not sure there's any more questions. Oh, I see one coming up. Malcolm, if you want to ask that one. Oh, so Naveen Shah. So Naveen is joining us from Bangalore, I believe. She used to be in Mumbai. And she works firsthand with students and talk about, I know personally that Naveen has had a number of students from the US, from UC Berkeley, for example, and I believe from University of Cincinnati and the University of Auckland. So she knows firsthand about truly people that are shedding their fear and embracing new opportunities. So Naveen, if you want to add anything to the conversation, but I know you do wonderful work in India, and the students come away with absolute amazing experiences and stories, and it then becomes like a fabric of who they are for the rest of their lives. So thank you for sharing that, Naveen. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions, which is fine. I know we're all busy human beings, and thank you for taking time out of your day to come and and enjoy the input that our panel has so graciously given us to think about. As I mentioned, this session is being recorded. One of the things that I did to promote it is there will be a raffle. I have to go through all the names of the people who registered for a free registration for the International Internship Conference, which is taking place in Indianapolis, June 13th to the 15th. I know Ed will be there, Naveen will be there. We're hoping International Experience Canada will be there. Actually Teresa from Intern Oz in New Zealand will also be there. So I'm hoping that you can find some time out of your busy schedules to join us in Indianapolis. And if you can't, enjoy today's webinar that we've recorded. And as I said, I will send that out to the link so that everyone can share it with their community and watch it again if you want to, and pick off the pearls of wisdom that our panel has so graciously shared. So I want to thank in person Joanna, Mary Christine, Ed, Melanie, and Melquin for doing the Q&A, and also to Liz Hong Farrell, who has not shown her lovely face during the webinar, but has been a huge support for this speaker series going forward. So on that note, I will end the recording and thank everyone for joining us today. And I wish you well. Be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and we will see you online or in person very soon. Take care.